YouTube, what is up? James, MTG Biggie here, and today this video is about something pretty interesting that Wizards of the Coast did, and I think it's something that's positive for players across the board, I believe. Maybe the slight negativity can be that can be brought up about it would be maybe financially down the line for some folks. But the announcement from today was the previously announced Challenger decks now have their full list online on Wizards of the Coast website. So, the quick summary here, Challenger decks are your ramp or on-ramp to standard. These 4 individual 75-card decks, so it's 60-card main deck plus sideboard, are geared towards standard play for FNM players and forged out of some of the most powerful strategies in standard. Before we get into the list, because we're going to go over each one kind of briefly to kind of give a summary of what they're doing and how they're going to end up being played in standard. This is a cool idea. They did this with the Modern Event deck before. It didn't really take off very well. This is meant to be to get players to play standard, whether they are players that were playing EDH strictly before, or people that would just draft, or people that were more into modern or pauper, maybe on a budget before. This is to get them into standard events, most importantly FNM. So, we get to the first one, and this is what the packaging and the box art looks like. And it's called Challenger Deck Hazoret Aggro. And if we get down the list, you'll see that this is basically mono red. The Ramunap red deck, or after bans, looks fairly close to this. Lots of 3 and 4s of Bomat Couriers, Soulscar Mage, Karizev, Harsh Mentor, Fanatical Firebrand, Uncrop Crasher, Lightning Strike, Shock, Abrade, Magma Spray, Sunscorched Desert, some Mountains, and then like even Mythics in the deck. One of Hazoret the Fervent, and one of Chandra, Torch of Defiance, which is the most surprising thing about all of these decks, is they straight up went ahead and put a very expensive Planeswalker in a $30 MSRP product. So, there's also sideboard, which is just kind of basic generic sideboard stuff in this color. Where this is going to differ from some of the more well-tuned versions of this deck is actually very few spots. I mean, you even get one of Glorybringer. This is a deck that you could pick up in a store, in your local game store, even at Walmart or Target if you are so inclined. And you could sleeve this up and play a reasonable game of standard or a reasonable local standard tournament. This acts as sort of the shell or the base model for the mono red deck in standard. The upgrades are obvious with this. More Glorybringer, more Hazoret, more Chandra. And that's about all you could do to kind of upgrade and tune this, aside from like adjusting sideboard to your meta and just playing around with some of the numbers. If you want to take this deck as a baseline to get into standard and play mono red aggro, you can invest another $30 into this, another $40 into this if you want. Pick up the Hazorets, pick up the other Chandras, both of which will probably come down in price with the release of this product. And then you just have yourself the actual standard meta tier 1 or 1.5 mono red aggro deck. So that's great. That's step 1, or deck number 1. They call it Hazoret aggro, but we all know it's red deck wins, or Ramunap red, but minus red. Just mono red aggro. The second deck is called Challenger Deck Vehicle Rush, which some of the names are kind of cheesy. you'll notice red, white, and black. This is basically a sort of simplified build of Mardu vehicles, which is cool. Again, 4 ofs, Bomat Couriers, Toolcraft Exemplar, Scrap Heap Scrounger, 2 of Pianalar, 3 DePaula, 4 Veteran Motorist. So you have basically the core creature package in Mardu vehicles right here out of the box, ready to sleeve up and go. Then you have 4 of Heart of Kirin, which is a mythic, which at one point was a pretty expensive mythic. And then Cultivator's Caravan, which I don't think Mardu Vehicles is actually playing that card that much. Aether Sphere Harvester, and 1 Sky Sovereign Council Flagship. And then 4 Lightning Strike, Unlicensed Disintegration. And then you have a mana base. 4 Spire of Industry, Dragon Skull Summit, an Inspiring Vantage, a Concealed Courtyard, some Ether Hubs, Unclaimed Territories, Evolving Wilds, Plains, Mountain Swamps. And then your sideboard, which is very generic sideboard stuff. The deck out of the box is totally playable and obviously will be able to be upgraded to be made into the best version of this deck for reasonably low sort of price point. You could perhaps get some Chandras, or I know these decks are playing Angarth, or Angrath, whatever the hell the Planeswalker from Rivals is. You could adjust your mana base so you can get more Concealed Courtyards, Inspiring Vantages, Dragon Skull Summits, and just tune the deck to be the deck that it is at Grand Prix that people are playing and have been for the last year. So it's a pretty cool way to jump right into that archetype of Standard if you wanted to. The third deck is the Challenger deck Second Sun Control, which is basically blue-white approach, is what the deck's actually called. And this deck is a little bit looser, a little bit less close to the exact version of the deck as it appears in Standard meta. But again, you have the skeleton of a really solid deck here. The obvious upgrades are the Glacial Fortress in the mana base. That is an easy 4 of because it fixes your mana. They didn't, I guess, want to commit 4 of that land. And more Settle the Wreckage. And Kefnet, I don't know if that's good in this deck. I haven't played Blue-White Approach. I played Blue-White Cycling, which shares a lot of the same cards, but is quite different. Kefnet, I just don't think it's that great, and I think a big part of the inclusion in this deck is so they have a figure, a creature-looking person character to put on the box, because if they slam the art to approach on the box, that would be cool, but I don't think it's as exciting as seeing a character on a box, which would be, a selling point, but it's still a basis for a blue-white approach deck. Then we have the Counter Surge deck, which is, I think, the worst of the names, because when I think of the word counter and I think of the word surge, I think of a blue-red tempo deck with some counter spells. Surge being a mechanic from Magic Origins that was sort of a red ability or whatever. So it's an odd name for it, but it's basically black-green Constrictor. And, of course, it comes with 4 Winding Constrictors and 4 Glint Sleeve Siphoners, which this card's seeing a lot of play in Grixis and Standard and in various Sultai Energy decks. So, if you were to pick this deck up, you could easily adjust and upgrade it to be this archetype, or this could be your gateway into a couple other archetypes. And then we have, Rishkars, 1 of Walking Ballista. That's where this deck kind of skimped. This could easily be a 3 to 4 of in this deck. The Scrap Heaps, Dreamstealer, Gonti, Verter's Gear Hulk, which is a 3 of Mythic, Longtusk Cubs, Walk the Planks, which is probably better off being Fatal Push, which you get 1 of. That's the other obvious upgrade. Hour of Glory, Blossoming the Fences, and then a pretty basic mana base. Again, Foul Orchard is pretty not great. You probably would rather have the Fast Land, the black-green Fast Land, which name escapes me right now. But this is a shell for a deck that you could spend another $20, $30, $40 on and have a fully functioning meta-based standard deck. I'm very happy about all of these decks, and I think that this is a great way. I have a buddy, Adam, who plays Pauper. He plays a little bit of Budget Modern. He's kind of new to the game and hasn't been interested in Standard because he's been explained how it's a rotating format, how putting your money into the format to get a deck that's only going to rotate out in a year or two is not necessarily a good long-term investment all of the time. He's the sort who doesn't like to put a lot of money into his hobbies, but likes his hobbies enough, so I would absolutely recommend, as a dude that likes to play aggro decks, that he go check out this Hazoret aggro deck. And if he were to pick this up for $30 and play a couple standard events and decide that he liked it and liked the deck and wanted to upgrade it, then I would point him in the direction of picking up some Hazorets and some Chandras and some Glorybringers and just upgrading this deck and making it his standard deck. I'm the sort that, like, I've played Standard on and off throughout the last year and a half, and whenever I play Standard, I either borrow a deck or I build a deck, and whether or not it's good at that time or not, it's the deck that I'm playing regardless. Because I don't go to a lot of Standard events outside of PPTQs and stuff like that. I might be interested in picking up the Mono Red deck. So it's a product that reaches widely from beginners, from people new to Magic, that could just pick up something out of the box, throw it in some sleeves, and play the game, and play FNM, to somebody like me who is a fairly seasoned veteran who doesn't want to invest a ton of money into buying into a lot of standard decks right now, because I have one standard deck and that's all I'm worried about investing in. But I'll certainly pick up 1 or 2 of these so I could borrow the other pieces and upgrade them. Like, I wouldn't mind playing Mono Red at some point or another. I wouldn't mind checking out, like, Mardu vehicles. Although, the one concern about all of these is they're coming out at a time where 6 months down the line, a lot of cards from all of these decks will be rotating, because Kaladesh Block will be rotating in October in the fall. So the troubling part is, like, these came out a little bit late to be super up to date, but they will still give somebody a good 6 months of play, and that's absolutely fine for $30. So yeah, April, so you have about 6 months of solid play with these decks, and some of the pieces from Amonkhet will definitely stick around in Standard. I don't see Hazoret being a bad Magic card after Kaladesh rolls out and you don't have Bomat Courier or Kari Zev. You still get Hazoret and Glorybringer. You lose Chandra, but whatever. If you have a Chandra, this card is going to be played in other formats on and off throughout the history of the game after it rotates out of Standard. It's good to have, and here's a way to get one of your Chandras plus a whole lot of other value for $30. So this is an amazing sort of thing that Wizards has done. They've never done anything like this before, and I hope that this indicates a new direction where they have some number of products that when somebody comes up to me and is like, hey, I want to play Magic the Gathering, where should I start? What should I do? Where I can explain to them what Standard is, first and foremost, and how they get started. And I hope these products are successful. I think they will be. And I hope we have this sort of thing for a long time in the future. That being said, what are some of your favorite parts of these? Do you think this is positive for the community as a whole? Do you plan on picking these up? Like I said, I'll probably pick up the mono red deck just because the fact that I won't have to borrow 90% of the cards and just have them sitting around is good value to me. So either way, guys, I hope that you enjoy this video and comment down below and let me know what you think. And aside from that, if you don't comment down below and you have Twitter, follow me on Twitter at MTGBiggie, and let's discuss this sort of thing. Do you want Wizards to do more products like this for different formats? I honestly think they should do a modern version of this as well. They tried that once, but I don't feel it was backed or promoted or advertised enough to become a real thing and to be a viable product. But if this is the example that they're setting and they put this product out and it sells well and people like it and it gets more people into FNM, I think it's only logical to go down to Modern or to do Pauper as that sort of a product. Either way, guys, I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you all again very soon.